Finding inverse functions. We want to find the inverses of each of the following functions. The first one is f of x is 3x minus 2, just a linear function. This is one that's quite easy to do. What you do is you let y be equal to 3x minus 2. We then interchange x and y, and the reason for that will become clearer after the next lesson. So we write x is equal to 3y minus 2. We then make y the subject of the equation. So we've got 3y minus 2 equals x. I've just changed the sides there. 3y would be x plus 2. So y would be x plus 2 divided by 3. So the inverse function is going to be x plus 2 divided by 3. Now I'm just going to make a brief note about domain and range, although it's not the main focus of this lesson at all. We know that for a linear function like this, it could take any real value, so the natural domain is x's reals. Also, the range would be y is reals. Now, when you find the inverse, the range for the original function becomes its domain. So we could state here that x belongs to reals, but of course that's the natural domain anyway. The domain of the original function becomes the range of the inverse function. And maybe we'll discuss that with this example over here. So if we consider x squared minus 4, and we're given the domain x is a real, x is greater than or equal to 0, that would actually look like this. When x is 0, we'd have negative 4, and then it's a quadratic, so it goes like this. So the range would be y is a real, y is greater than or equal to negative 4. Now, as just discussed, that would become the domain for our inverse function. Well, let's go ahead and find the inverse. So we let y equal x squared minus 4. We interchange x and y. So x is equal to y squared minus 4. So y squared minus 4 is equal to x. Y squared is equal to x plus 4. And then y could be the positive or negative square root of x plus 4. But let's think about which one we actually need. So at the moment we're not sure, plus or minus square root of x plus 4. Now this is the inverse. The domain for the original function was positive values of x. That needs to be the range for this inverse function. So we need it to return positive values, so it's going to be the positive square root. I apologize, there's not too much I can do about this. There's a mess on the screen here which I can't get rid of without getting rid of everything else. So we'll just have to live with it. The inverse function of x is the positive square root of x plus 4. And as we discussed, the domain for this will be what the range was for the original function. And if you look at that, it makes sense. We know that we can put negative 4 in here and have the square root of 0, and any number bigger than x is negative 4 would go in there as well. Now the range for this one would be the domain for the original function. So the range for this one would be the set of values y, such that y is real and y is greater than or equal to 0.